G'day, hi, and welcome. It is negative a bazillion degrees out there. Yeah, that wind. Oh my god, you could get frostbite out there. Wow, that wind. I had a crazy dream last night that there was a giant beaver over at the trailer over there at my client's place, and I had to trap him, but I fell into the water like through the ice again. It's like, oh no. Yeah. And I knocked half my wood pile that I'm going to take in the spring away, and it's like, oh, that's not good. And then I went outside today and it's like, oh, it's a bazillion, minus bazillion out there. It was only minus 16 or 17 on the thermometer, but it felt like probably about minus 25 or 30 with the wind. But yesterday, it rained and then it was sleet. It was like end of the world kind of weather yesterday, like just dark. Like it was like sundown at 3 o'clock kind of stuff, right? Just like, oh yeah, I would have been miserable driving in that yesterday for sure. Uh, I don't like winter driving. It just because like you just don't know where the hell like in the city it's not the same. Like in the city you can kind of tell where you are, right? But like out in the country like this, there you get some of those open areas there, just like where the snow drifts come. You really don't know if you're on the road or on the edge of the ditch. Like you really don't know where you are. And it's like, okay, well, I'll just ride in the center. You think you're in the center, you're actually way over on the other side, and the other guy coming, well, he's almost in the ditch. Like it's so dangerous, right? Like today's not too bad. You can drive around today, but last night I wouldn't want to have to drive in that at all. Like it would have been hard to see. Uh, yeah, just nasty, nasty. Uh, yeah, so give more thought to writing a book or books, stuff like that. What I want to do though is see if I can find like a narrator where it writes it down while you speak. It would be so much faster that way, and then you can go back and re-edit it after, right? Like read a little bit, or not read, but like narrate a bit, and then go back, proofread it, narrate a bit, proofread it, and then you're gonna have to proofread it 1,000 times before you can release it, right? And so I'm looking into self-publishing and stuff like that, and if any of you guys ever done and to do it on like no money, that's the thing. Like there's levels, right? So how do you put out a good product with no money? Well, it's the same problem I have with my recording. Like there's only so much. So far, the technology is going to get me. But if I focus on just writing really good songs and recording them the best I can, that might be good enough, And then maybe I can, upgrade as I go, right? So, or afford an actual professional studio and get like really, really killer sounds. Um, yeah, there's all that. There's all that. But what I would also say too is like I have 3 book concepts, but I have a potential of 5 books that I could start at any one time. So I was going over my Dystopia 2060 thing on BitChute, and like it was just kind of me just telling a story off the cuff, right? So if there's a lot of stuff in there that you would never put in a book, and the story not wasn't like the concept of the story was really good. At least I thought. I'm sure somebody would read it. And the thing is that the, I could write that one quick because all I got to do is listen to my story and just make whatever edits I want to make and just basically write it down. And I don't know how big of a book it would be, but it was 10 videos or whatever, so roughly about an hour long. So, and a novel, I think they say has to be like 50,000 words or 55,000 words or something like that. About 400 pages or whatever. But I guess if it's not that many words, it would be called a short story. But if it's in a book, it's in a book, right? And I'm not going to argue over the semantics of whether it's a full length novel or a short story. A short story for me is like 3 pages. You know what I mean? Uh, eh, yeah, but I am almost done this. So the question is, will I be done it today? Hopefully, and then I can review it. If not, it'll be done tomorrow, which will be New Year's Eve. I don't know if there's anything going on for New Year's Eve. Um, so I'm like, I don't know. It might be a pretty quiet New Year's Eve. Uh, Not sure. Not sure. But either way, yeah. But yeah, I want to hit 2026, hit the ground running, even with all the chaos going on in the world. But it was funny. I started listening to my Dystopia 2060 video on BitChute. I just listened to the first episode last night again, and like some of the stuff that I predicted in the video, like sort of happened already. It's like okay, yeah. So maybe it wasn't good, but it was, the idea was to kind of turn it into. It comes down to East Coast Canadian had asked me, uh, what I think, like what my predictions of the future would be like, if, say, like 2060 or something like that, and what the world would be like. And oh, it's just my windows rattling. Wind. And I said, okay, well, maybe I'll turn it into a story. So I took, like kind of like from the point of view of me into a fictitious world or whatever, and where I see things going. And I think that, in hindsight, that it would make a good novel. It would make a good ebook. Again, I'd have to re-narrate it and clean it up and whatever. But the story's good, and it's a unique story. I can guarantee you, nobody would have the balls to, put a story out like that in the mainstream, because they'd be hounded for being anti-feminist and stuff like that. Because they're making fun of a lot of feminists, and there's like called the feminist gene or whatever in the book, well, in the story, and transhumanism and all that stuff, and it's an authoritarian, one world order, and I talk about the events of 2020 and stuff like that, and some of the side effects, and how much of the population it killed off and stuff like that in the long run, and then the crashes of the 2030s, and then just like a big culling of the planet in 2050, right? But the erasure of history by 2060, where the generations, they're usually like all history every 2 weeks or something like that gets erased. So like you don't know what happened 2 weeks before, right? And it's just a method of control, censorship control, so things don't get out of hand for the ruling elites, right? They would love that, It's like, yeah, like again with all these AI data centers, just like when I made that story, I think it was like 3 years ago. The data centers were just being built. Like now they're a thing. So maybe that's what the data centers are going to do, is just like completely wipe the internet, create an internet dark age. That's coming no matter what, because of censorship, right? Like the beginning of the social credit score is going to begin with TikTok. Like people don't realize that they're going to hit the pop culture first. They always do. They hit movies. They hit first. They hit the radio, then they hit the TV, and then they hit movies, right? Or radio and the movies, and then the TV, right? That's why they call it programming. Is they programming. So yeah, I like the concept. Could I do it? Again, could I take on a project that big? The other two news stories would be really good. The Out of the Ashes series. I don't know if I'd redo. I don't know if I'd turn that into a book. Because if I did the Dystopia 2060 or the Out of the Ashes or the Sorrow, if I did those, I'll have to listen to them all and make a decision which one I think would be the best. Because the thing is that I never completed the Out of the Ashes 100%. even though I thought the story was really good. Again, dystopic future stuff, set in a time frame where nobody kind of knows where or when they are. You know what I mean? It's just they're trying to pick up the past of a broken dystopic city. History kind of gets erased in these massive. And I think this is stuff that's actually happened to civilization many times, where major empire collapses, scatter everybody to the winds, and then suddenly about 2 generations later, nobody knows what the hell happened because it's all lost, right? Makes sense, it makes sense, and I do believe that happens from time to time. Like you have a Pompeii event or something like that, where it's just like it completely gets erased. The survivors of that might not be able to tell the story. Maybe a few can, but the story might be broken up and vague, and maybe what the event was, but okay, well, what was before the event? Well, no, the survivors only talked about the event. They didn't talk about the world they came from. Then you got to figure out how people lived before. Remember, Pompeii was considered a nonsensical Christian Bible story, whatever that was make believe, and then they found the city of Pompeii and all the people that were basically turned to ash from it, right? So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, the big volcano or whatever. Who knows what the human origin stories actually are? But yeah, the idea of writing a book, I'm on a bit of a book kick now. Again, it's like right now when I have time, my imagination runs wild. I could do this. I'm recording my song. I'll probably do a little bit more recording today. Do a bunch of other things. It's not quite 11 o'clock there now, so I got time to do all kinds of stuff. Make videos, whatever. But yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do another pop bottle run. I gotta go do a little job tomorrow, and that'll be my job for the week. The New Year's Eve pop bottle run, or maybe I'll wait till. No, I might be closed on first. Yeah, but I got 2 full bags of pop bottles to go, so that's like almost $50 worth of pop bottles. Like it's cans. The cans are just pure profit for me because. I don't buy cans, you know what I mean? But it's going to clean out my basement, going to clean out the garage a bit. My dad says, yeah, there's bags of pop cans all over the place. You got to start getting them out of here. I said, I don't. That's the thing when my vehicle broke down, like I can't stay on top of it. So anyway, my goal is, like I say, to keep cleaning up down here, doing all that, maybe paint the place, like I said yesterday, from the making of this video, from in that video, like paint the place in the spring when I can really open the windows, let it really air out, and just clean up the property and do all these other things, and just keep the the time management of projects down here, get set up for everything. The nice thing is like for example. Today is going to be a partially painting day. So I recorded yesterday a little bit. I'll work on my song again today. I don't care if it takes me 3 weeks before I actually start recording the song, just working on the song every day. But I want to get back into the painting, finish that, finish off all my canvases, stuff like that. That would be, I bought a whole bunch of canvases. Because I was gonna God rest my mom, but my mom and I were sitting there. We paint together a little bit, right? When I had time, and she showed me a few things, because she took painting lessons and stuff like that. And my mom got really, really good at it. It's just it was stressful for her to commit to a painting because it took her months to finish each painting. You know what I mean? Like it was just. She could only concentrate for so long, and then that'd be it, right? And then to fix the mistakes and stuff like that, and it was one of those things that she liked doing, but like anything, it was just kind of like had to pace herself at it, right? For me, I wanted to give it a try, see how far I get. I don't have the painting abilities of my mom whatsoever, so I do more simplistic paintings that I can finish quickly, right? More like silhouette stuff that a lot easier to finish, right? But I do want to, start doing the like when I get the internet down here at some point. What I'm going to do is, get set up. Obviously, it all takes money, right? It's just I have the painting supplies and everything like that, and I can use them up. Once I use them up, I might not ever buy painting stuff again. But it's like if they ever brought out basic universal income, like I would be one of those guys that would be so creative I'd know what to do with my time. Most people just become like, porn addicted, video game addicted, drug addicts, right? I'm just going to sit there, play video games, smoke weed. No, pick up a paintbrush, pick up a book, start writing a book. But everybody says you should write at least one book. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people recommend you should at least try to write one book, get one thing published in your life, even if it's in a short story in a magazine or whatever. And I agree with that. Like for example, I got the cover again on the Pontiac Journal, right? And it's 2 years in a row I got it for Christmas, where I got the Pontiac Journal. So I'll probably get a small check in the mail or whatever. Last year I got the full cover and it was like $75. So that was pretty good. This year they did a collage, so the collage was over my main photo, so I don't know what I'll get. But Bonnie, she's good to me, so like a lot of times she's too good to me actually. I'll take the photo and she says, okay, I'll cover it for you and whatever, and I'll give her the write up, and she's, oh, don't worry, I'll do the write up. Because like they can only, like, the articles are only like that big, right? It's like 140 words or 200 words max or whatever. And she's like, okay, just do where I went and how, and then I'll take it from there. I said, okay, yeah, you just get me the photos, okay. And then I met the guy from the Equity at the Christmas store. At the Equity, he goes, oh yeah. I said, oh yeah, we talked. I met him before, but it was a couple of years ago when I last met him. And I said, oh yeah, you're still using the A26 there, or sorry, the A7, the Sony A7. He goes, yeah, great camera, blah blah blah. He goes, yeah. He says when I started, he says I had like a junk camera, and they had a budget, and they said go buy whatever you want. And I'm like, I guess this guy must do it more full time. Well, the Activity is a bigger paper than the Pontiac Journal, but it's the same thing. It's like, okay, well, I've been paid as a wedding photographer. Now I've been paid a couple of times as a photojournalist. For, like, again, small insignificant paper for locals, but nonetheless, it's the Pontiac. Well, there's like 20,000 people in the Pontiac, maybe 30,000 people in the Pontiac. Just to give you an idea, the Pontiac's about half the size of Sweden. There's 18 municipalities in Quebec, and ours is about half the size of Sweden. So it's and there's only like 20,000, 30,000 people in the entire Pontiac. It's like it's rural area. Like, again, like, people have no concept how big Canada is. One of my subscribers, Dom, he's like, yeah, Reg, I'm coming up to Toronto. How far are you from Toronto? I'm like 6-8 hours. He's like, wow. Kind of thing. It's like, yeah, but it's just, the country's so huge, right? Like, Europeans all the time are like that when they come to Canada. They're like, okay, it took me 3 hours to drive out of the city. They could have drove across like 3 countries in Europe, because of, like, the density, like, you're at the southern of like, like, you can be, if you're in Switzerland, you're like a couple of hours from like 5 countries, right? Like you can do a big loop, go Italy, France, Spain, Germany, whatever. Yeah, you can hit it all, right? You can hit it all, right? So, Austria, yeah, pretty much Switzerland is like the hub, right? Like Germany is like the powerhouse, but Switzerland is like the hub. It's like It's like the little spool, the spindle in the center that like around a wheel, right? Yeah, sort of. But anyway, yeah, it's like putting a feather in my cap of being a writer. Again, when you have no budget, you do things, and that's one thing that's nice about this day and age, even with all the chaos in the world. Like I say, you just gotta learn to live around it, and like I'm enjoying reading my books, but would I enjoy writing them more? I've attempted, like I say, years ago, I started a book. This is like 20, almost 30 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, and well, maybe not, well, maybe 20 years ago, and I started writing the book, and I got it maybe about a chapter in, and then it just kind of, and I still have it. Like I kept the writings, but I don't think I can pick up that story because of the time in my life where I was at. Like I could still, like obviously I remember the experiences, and when I write, I tend to write from my point of view of an experience because it's the easiest thing to do. So base the main character on yourself, and then what would you do in that situation? And the thing is about it is that when you do that, like the things flow very easily, and you can just change the character name. But it's like, okay, yeah, like like kind of like build your own adventure, and how to tell the story. Dystopia 2060 would be told from a first person point of view, which would be me. But the thing is that I changed the character just a couple of characters slightly, just so this guy's got egomaniac or whatever. But I think you guys would really enjoy the character, like, because the thing is okay, it wouldn't be really for kids because there'd be a lot of cursing in it, and obviously the violence would be, there's a lot of violence, and some of the violence is a little bit graphic, but it's not like over the top. But the adventure of the story, I think everybody would love it. It just because it's so unique. Like I've never heard of anybody writing anything quite like this before. And maybe you know you need some right wing novels out there that are not just business. Like we keep hearing that like the left is the creative side and stuff like that, and it's not true. Right wingers are very very creative. Right wing people are just as creative as the left wing. It's just the left wing gets promoted. You know what I mean? Like one thing I'm discovering about the book talk people is like they're all left wing, so that's why everything they recommend is left wing. Like it's all progressiveness, right? All the institutions are basically overrun by progressives, so you're never going to get that other point of view. It's just and you can tell just by the language that they speak. Like yeah, they might be speaking English, but their sentence structures, everything is woke. There's like every second word they say is some sort of buzzword like inclusivity or marginalized, toxic masculinity, problematic. All the buzzwords from the left, right? And they literally speak that way. So like you can tell right away, or you get a guy recommending like the struggles of like the oppression Olympic minority, right? And it's just like, oh, this was such a great book, and maybe for them it would be, right? But for the other side of the aisle, it's like, okay, yeah, it's not really what I'm into, because like I don't care about your identity, I don't care if you identify as this and the struggles of this, I'm just not into it. And you can call me all kinds of names, and again, they do take great offense if you don't agree with them, right? So I think that's pretty obvious. On if you I hate the term far right, but on like the normie conservative right, yeah, you get the same problem too, maybe to a slightly lesser degree, but yeah, they got their dogmas too. But the thing is like I wouldn't be writing it as like the angry conservative type. The angry conservative type is just like that. That's a bygone era. That worked in 1950. It doesn't work now. People don't want that, right? Like you have to have a certain amount of compassion, but you got to be likable, right? If you're on the right and you're a likable character, uh, you know, it really shines for you. It really does because it disarms people. The chivalry, the politeness disarms people and makes you likable, and then they're more likely to listen to your advice. They're more likely to do things. Kill them with kindness, as they say, right? Um, and we need books like that where it shows the right wing perspective, but not from like a hostile point of view all the time. You know, like it's like us versus them or whatever. You have to kind of more like say, here's the guy that has a different point of view to show you yourself and show you that you might be like you might be absorbed in a toxic mindset because like this is the better way, and the reason why it's the better way is the outcomes. You know what I mean? Like the outcomes tell you that like you're going to live, if you follow the right hand path, you're going to live a better life. That's just is what it is. There's no left wing argument against that. Nihilism never works. Nihilism is a dead end. We'll just say that way. Nihilism is a dead end. That's why I get blown away by like people that are atheists, and I get blown away by people that are like really hardcore left. Like they can't see, like they're in the ether. They can't see outside their bubble of how self destructive a lot of their practices are. Like from a right wing point of view. And when I say right wing, I'm not talking right wing governments. Look, there are no good governments on the planet anywhere. They're all against the people. Every politician has failed its populace, bar none. There is no good presidents or prime ministers out there currently. There's more like mob bosses fighting. This mob boss is fighting for his stakeholder capitalists. That mob boss is fighting for their stakeholder capitalists or whatever, and they're all fighting for the tech giant dystopian authoritarian takeover, right? With the social credit scores and stuff. So that's everything that's there. And the people that are still dismissing that, like they're getting to the point where they can't, right? Like it's just like, like you either have to double down till you're completely insane, or you have to accept that you might have taken the wrong path, and if you don't reverse course, well, like I say, nihilism is a dead end. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So that's what 2060 is going to be about, is that like how people could come out of the ether, even if they're pretty far gone the other way, even with genetic modification and stuff like that. That, the right hand path, nature does not like a vacuum. My client always says that because she's like a botanist and horticulturist, botanist, that type of thing. And she says nature doesn't like a vacuum. If you take the topsoil away, something else, or you strip the foliage away, something else grows. Like it never stops, right? It's nature. Nature's like people don't realize like the planet is alive. You know what I mean? Like you can think of like grass, like and trees, like the hairs on a head. You know what I mean? Like it grows, right? And the thing is that the left hand path tends to lead people into really nihilistic things. This is why your depression levels are so high. This is why you have like feminists and MGTOW and stuff like that. And those, people are starting to figure out the MGTOW thing, like, and the feminist thing. Like third wave feminists, fourth wave feminists, like the death of women. They're literally going to die by their own hand because, again, nihilism is a dead end, right? The anti-child movement. The reason why that, and the MGTOW, the reason why those things don't get censored is because of population control, right? It works on a large enough people that the world elites like this. These people, they don't breed. The transgender thing, that's another form of population control, like sterilizing. It's a way to convince people to sterilize themselves or get their parents to sterilize. It's pure fucking evil, but it's like, it is what it is. It's not about gender identity and stuff like that. and when you say that, people get mad at you, but it's like when you really put thought to it, from like if you were an alien and you landed on this planet and you were looking at everything, you could see it right away. You're not in the bubble. You're on the outside looking in. You could see it right away. You could see the big picture right away. So it doesn't take much critical thought to go from something you support to saying, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Just because the masses are supporting this doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And I think we need to write more books that are like that, not from a social justice left wing, point of view, but like from an actual, just like real world actions have consequences, and being politically correct has a lot of nasty consequences. Like being a progressive has a lot of left wing progressive has a lot of nasty consequences. Being a right wing capitalist has a lot of nasty consequences. It has some good consequences, but like my critique of capitalism is okay. We know communism fails and it doesn't work. It doesn't work on paper. It doesn't work in real life, right? It's just communism fails faster than what capitalism does. But capitalism, what has it done? Oh, well, we got to be more competitive. We have to drive the wages down. We got to offshore our manufacturing because we got to keep the weight. We got to be more competitive. We got to keep the wages. The cheapest stuff from the lowest bidder for everyday low prices has now led to such low wages that everybody's becoming working class poor and completely unemployed. Right? So, the wages are still too high. We got to bring in foreign workers and pay them even less. Oh, well, that's too much. We got to bring in the robot economy. like, where does it end? Khrushchev was right. There wasn't too much that the communists got right, but one thing they did get right was when Khrushchev said, well, we'll sell the rope to the capitalists that they're going to hang themselves with. And it's true, because all it leads to is these giant corporation monopolies, which then leads to like a corporate fascism, because the governments have to keep all the big industries going. You know what I mean? Like almost none of them can stand on their own. What does that tell you? But because we went from a class of people that basically, opened businesses, designed things, built things, and created things and produced things to, well, I'll just throw my money at it and I'll be an investor class. So the investor class is really screwing up the planet, especially our food supplies. It's like, well, I want to make this much, on my futures contract, I want to make this much profit. Okay, well then we'll just take it out on the farmers and put the farmers out of this. We'll make them pay. And it's like, how would only in a capitalist world would that be accepted, right? Now, centralized power and full control, centralized power doesn't work either, because then you get too much limitations and there's no redundancy, where you need to have as much free market capitalism as you could possibly handle, but not to the point where you just let every foreign nation, run rickshaw over your resources, stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, the thing is the reason why the book 2060, if I write the book 2060 Dystopia, would be kind of prophetic, is that it'd be an awful lot like 1984 in concept. Well, not in concept, but like just in what's the word I'm looking for? Where it's like, okay, yeah, like you might not know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but you have an idea of which direction you're going, right? And that's what 1984 and all that stuff was all about, was just basically kind of letting you know that what they're talking about now is going to have consequences, and in the future you're going to see those consequences probably look like this. And that's what 2060 is going to be about, Dystopia 2060. So what I'd have to do, just get back on track here, is I have to figure out a way to write the book quickly. And the best way is if I can find a narrator, and I'll have to look on my computer to see if I had, where you could basically just record yourself and it writes it down as you're recording. I don't know of any programs that do that, because that would save so much time, because you can speak much faster than you can write a lot of times. Like, I think to get into the government, you have to be able to type like 16 words a minute. something like that. And I don't know if it's still like that, but that's what it was like back in the 90s. You had to write 16 words a minute. So if you have to write 50,000 words at 16 words a minute, account for typos and all that, you're looking at months to write something down. But if you could just speak it and have it written, I don't know if there's AI programs or whatever that could do that. And then just, like basically record yourself out loud while it writes it down, and then you can go back and correct this. That would be really quick. Then you could probably put out a book in like 2 or 3 months, edited, ready to go, full package, right? So I'm looking at the self-publishers. I think the idea of like going to like big publishers and stuff like that, like it's kind of like getting a record deal. You know what I mean? It's the amount of effort you got to get there. When you can self-publish, and maybe like sometimes you're self-publisher, like people get discovered that way because it's like, well, you've already done all the heavy lifting and the hard work, whatever, but you have full control over your creativity. That's why a lot of people they just write ebooks until something, they can make enough to actually produce an actual physical novel, right? And then you got to figure out how you're going to sell it. So I got to find all that stuff. Once I figure out that, like the marketing angle of it and all that, and what's really, like there was one girl that cost her $7,500 to do her first book, but she went kind of like maybe not all out, but like, she spent a lot on editors and stuff like that, and cover designers, and making sure she had a really good high quality product, right? But it's one of those things too that it's like, if you like for the book cover, okay, shiny things sell. That's always been the case and will always be the case. Like the book cover, I already could visualize the book cover in my head, and it would be an appealing book cover. It'd be a busy book cover, but it'd be appealing. And you could do that on AI pretty easily. You could do it pretty easily. And I believe that the artwork of it would be the easy part for sure. Again, with the AI stuff. So AI can help me out with that. AI can help me out with maybe like editing or something like that, or maybe it doesn't even have to be AI, but like the Grammarly thing and whatever. All that stuff is getting better. So it's like you could do your story, it could read it back to you like an ebook, and you could, oh, okay, that sounds stupid. What would be a better choice for this phrase? And it would suggest this or that or whatever. So that could be that's what the tools that I'll need to be able to actually get the thing into print, like to write it down so I could even just print it out as a manuscript, whatever. That's probably 90% of the battle for me, because the story is going to be the easy part, and the corrections in the story or whatever are going to be the more tedious part. But catching like the double thes, the double ands, and because you don't write the way you speak typically, right? There's a lot of like, you don't add the all those crazy things that we tend to do when we speak out loud off the cuff. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm gonna chew on the idea, because again, as soon as like April comes along and I'm back working like crazy, maybe the concepts won't work, and maybe it takes me 5 years to write a couple of books, right? And again, I'd be 57 by the time I'd finish the books, right? So that's fine if I have the time to do that. But like, I don't want to be spending 8 hours a day trying to write a book either, right? So like, again, where do you put your time? So like if you could write, if you could write 2 pages a night, or even 1 page a night, I think 1 page would be harder to do. But the thing is I narrate the story and then write the book. Then all I have to do is listen to myself. So if I have to type it out the old-fashioned way on the computer, fine, I could do that. I could already do that, and it would be pain in the ass, but it would probably go faster than I think. It's just how much do I want to do per night, right? Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have written books, stuff like that, what did you found like do's and don'ts for you? Share it down below. Maybe you guys want to try that too. Again, try things. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Yeah, Brian, the Johnny Cash impersonator there. Well, he does Johnny Cash, he does Elvis, he does Neil Diamond, he does that stuff. He called me last night. I haven't talked to him in quite a few months. Talking about going up doing the thing for the radio station again. So I said, oh, yeah, sure, okay. I told him, well, I said, you're gonna have to pick me up and drop me off because like I don't have, I don't have a vehicle. And I told him like I'd rather wait till the spring to do stuff like that. But if we're just going to the radio station and back, just tell me which 3 songs you want to do. So I got 3 songs to practice, and we'll go up and do that. And then anything else, okay, wait till the spring because I want to be able to practice stuff. Like I don't want to do things off the cuff, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm at that level where it's like jamming is fine. Improvised jams are fun to a degree, but I don't enjoy them. Like I've done enough of them that I don't enjoy them as much because it's just the same old blues jam over and over and over again. And I'm really not into that. I want to go up there and play you something well rehearsed and super impressive because what I do, that's when people respond to what I do. That's why people see me play live and they're just like, wow, that was crazy what you did, because it's not just the same thing that everybody else is doing, right? And you only get there when you put the effort into it. And I guess it's the same with anything, right? You really have to hone the art of your craft. And I think that by spring, when work starts picking up again, I will pick up a PA and another acoustic guitar. I'm going to need at least 2. One is a backup, one is I would really like to get another 12-string. I'm so upset that one. I'm going to try a different type of strings again. Maybe the 12-gauge strings were just too heavy. Maybe because like if I could get at least a guitar to tune properly, that might solve the problem, right? And I'm thinking maybe the 12-gauge strings, because it's all the drone strings that are going out. So I'm thinking, well, maybe the 12-gauge strings on there have too much tension on the bass strings, and because of that, you can't get the drones where they need to be, and that's why it doesn't seem to want to stay like you could tune the guitar perfectly open, but as soon as you start playing it, it's out of intonation, like almost the whole way up the neck, and it's not within livable. I've never had a 12-string do that to me before, and I've had 3 of them, right? And I've played God knows how many. I don't know. Like it was a B stock guitar. I will never buy a B stock guitar again in my life. Never, ever, ever, ever. Like I don't know what the issue is with the guitar. The only thing I can think of is there's not enough. When I filed down the bridge, okay, that's probably what doesn't have enough pressure on the bridge to set the the piezo off, because the piezo does the piezo does work. It's just whatever. So that's probably an easy solve. But then if I replace the bridge with the stock bridge again, my problem then becomes my action is going to be too high that I won't be able to play past the 7th fret. It'll be it's just not going to sound good when it's really difficult to play like that. And even if I put more tension on the neck, it's probably not going to put enough back bow on the neck to take the action down. So it's kind of like it's a guitar that just it won't do the job I need it to do. I need a guitar an acoustic guitar. Like a lot of people think, oh, acoustic guitars don't, they don't play as good as electric guitars. If you have a good acoustic guitar, you should be able to play it. Okay, yeah, you might not be able to do the string bends the same because it's heavier gauge of string, but you should be able to play on any fret the same way you can on an electric. If not, you don't have a good acoustic guitar or it's not set up right. It might sound good, but it might not. If you can't play it, I'd rather have a guitar that doesn't sound as good that you can play perfectly, because your performance is going to outdo tone anytime. Like you know what I mean. It's nice if the guitar sounds really nice. It's going to sound better if you play it well and it stays in tune and it's intonated and all that. That's why I love that Ibanez. That thing has just been rock solid. Anybody that I've ever let play that Ibanez, it's a $400 guitar, and they're like, "Wow, this thing plays freaking amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. it's a great guitar." It sounds like a rotten old tree stump tone wise, but like you put new strings on it, you get out on the stage with it. People are more fascinated by how well you play than the tonal qualities. Now, if you can get a guitar that does both, has good tonal qualities and plays amazingly, world's your oyster. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm going to leave it at about that, because I want to get other things done down here. Again, juggling my time. Definitely want to see if I can finish this. If I can finish this book today, I would be very happy. That I could review it tomorrow. Then I'll put this one as my main book. This one's kind of getting interesting, and I'm only a few pages in on it, and whatever. So, but yeah, the book thing, I don't know. It's just like this is the first winter where I've actually been able to really spread my creative wings, so to speak, right? Because I didn't have this before, right? And it's kind of like it's my own place to do things. And yesterday, my nephew came by yesterday, and he rolled a gigantic snowball in the yard there. It's about 3-4 feet round. He rolled it till he couldn't push it anymore. And he played around with my roof rake a bit there. He took a bit of stuff like that. But it's just like this is the place where like a lot of creativity is going to happen. Like this summer coming. Like, I mean, especially as I clean up the yard and really make things look nice and prune the apple trees and all that. I mean, it's going to be a bit of like Garden of Eden oasis here. You know what I mean? Like call the creek the oasis, whatever. And then a little bit of livestock, whatever. Start with the chickens, laying hens. My sister-in-law made they were pickled eggs, but they were pickled in a really interesting brine. It was like you could actually use it on your rice and stuff like that. And there was like little tomatoes and onions and whatever. It was really good, really good. And I'm like, 3 laying hens would keep us in eggs, yeah. You know what I mean? So what I'm thinking, like once I had the place completely cleaned up, I got put the garbage can back out. So bin number 13 will be out next week. Once I get everything all cleaned up here, and there's nothing left to do but just create. And hopefully this year I won't be as crazy. Again, it's the catch-22 of like I've got more expenses now because of down here, but I've got more potential down here that I can do something creative just about every night. One thing I like is that I could, like, if I want to paint, I could set up my painting station, and I don't have to pack everything away every time I'm finished. I could just paint a little bit, clean up, whatever. Paint for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. I don't know if I'll actually do any painting today, but I'm going to do a dragon on that canvas that I got prepped. It's been like that for about 3 years now. I forget what I last dealt with it. And then I got to finish my other 3 butterfly thing. Now, I like, it's the idea of starting something and finishing it, right? The idea of not taking on too many projects at a time, because like right now I'm reading 6 books. If you add it in the Bible, it's like 6 books at a time. But I'm going to knock it down after this book is done to maybe 4 books at a time. Just because it's going to, until I get the library books out, and then and there's one more library book that's going to come in. I'll put a pressure on myself to read that. And then after that, I can cut back my reading time to maybe a half an hour a day instead of an hour or whatever. And then, Fridays, if I have, make Fridays my kind of like, like a hour and a half, 2 hour session of reading, whatever. But I don't want to like make it a job. You know what I mean? I want to do this as something that I enjoy doing, and I do enjoy doing. So it's very important that I don't take on so much, because I am bad for that. That I can't get it all done. This is part of the decluttering my life. Something I highly recommend. If you're in your 30s, start doing it now. If you're in your 50s, get her done. Because when you're in your 60s and 70s, like, look, I work for seniors, and every time they want to like clean out their garage, clean out this, they're just overwhelmed with it because they just don't have the physical strength to do it. Like you got years and years worth of junk. It takes a long time to get rid of that. Like, I mean, now mind you, I'm not only getting rid of my junk, which I really don't own a lot of stuff, but I'm getting rid of like stuff that was here when my grandparents were here, 10 years of my brother being here. That's a lot of junk I got rid of. You know what I mean? Like all those bins, all that stuff I burnt. You know what I mean? All the scrap metal. Like, I mean, that's going to take me like 3 years before I've done this place. You know what I mean? Like to the way I want it, maybe even 5. Because I know how long it takes to do things, right? Even simple things. That's why you just don't overthink it. Don't overwhelm yourself with it. But just get rid of a little bit at a time. Like getting rid of the pop cans. Like you get 6 months of pop cans. It takes you 2 months to get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like it really does kind of play in like that. It's kind of bizarre, but it's amazing how things can overwhelm you. But when you get rid of all those pop cans, for example, now you have all this space and it's cleaner, right? Getting rid of like the old books that I'm not going to read anymore. Getting rid of those magazines, like all that stuff. Get rid of that. Maybe get rid of some older, less used musical equipment, which is not much. Pretty much like when I buy musical equipment, that's one thing. When I buy it, it's like it gets used because I buy it. Like I don't buy it. I don't buy on a whim. I buy it, like I'll look at a guitar like that Charvel. I looked at that thing for almost 3 years before I pulled the trigger on it. I'm amazed it stayed in stock that long. But I think what it was is they had a whole bunch of them because they were selling good. And that just happened to be the last one, and it was a discontinued guitar. And I got like a deal of the century on it. And, it's just vastly becoming one of my favorite guitars. Like it's just, I just love it. Like I just absolutely love it. I'm hoping to have it on the stage a lot this summer. And I really want to focus on that. But I have to make a living and stuff like that. So, like the passive income is like winning the lottery. You know what I mean? Like the closest people could get, say, 10 years ago was really YouTube, right? With the AdSense. Like BitChute has AdSense. I think I'm up to like 30 cents now. I got hundreds of videos I made like 30 cents in like the past year or something like that. So yeah, you're not going to make a living off of that unless you really get lucky, right? So you have to find ways to produce something that can produce money for you so that you can take more time to invest in yourself. The problem with working labor, especially the older I get, the harder it's get. Like shoveling, like this year, it's like I'm not doing as much shoveling. It's just too hard on me. It just, you know what I mean? Like I'm a strong man, but my joints, it's like it's not my muscles, it's my joints. I mean, I had the bad back for at least 2.5 years there with the sciatic nerve and all that. That took a long time to heal. So far, not too bad, but the joints are hurting, and it's just an age thing. It's like it's not about. Like I'm fine when I'm not doing anything, but like the other day when I was up on the roof, on the edge of the roof with that freaking ice breaking bar. Those things are like 20 pounds. Shucking that thing under the big block of ice, try to knock myself off the ladder. I felt that in the shoulder for like 2 days after. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know, even when I lift the weights, I have to watch how much weight I do because it's not the muscles. My muscles feel great. It's the joints, right? But that said, if you don't move around, if you don't stretch, if you don't do all those things, you stiffen right up. You know what I mean? Like you have to keep your arteries moving. You have to keep your joints moving, but you only get so many movements before you wear things out. That's why joggers and runners and stuff like that, like all you guys in your 20s that are jogging and running, like find something else, like cycle instead or something like that. Find something that's lower impact on your joints because every jogger and runner I know, they need knee surgery by the time they're 50. You know what I mean? Like maybe not every one of them, but you know, like it's more common than not, right? Joggers and runners. I'm like, because you only get so many movements. You know what I mean? You can only stretch things so much. So, you know, like for example, I still, you know, like grabbing my, you know, my broads, my swords and stuff like that, and you know, thrashing them around and stuff like that, and practice my, you know, knife fighting martial arts and stuff like that. I still do that stuff, just not as much, right? My knife collections, yeah, my knife collections. You want to see something there's obsession right there. Like I got like I don't know how many knives, and I got rid of a bunch too. You know, like the thing is that things that are small like that you can put in a drawer, it's not so bad. But you know what? You only have so many drawers. You only have so many. You know, you only have so much stuff. So you got to declutter your life. You have to focus in on something of a legacy. Books could be a good legacy. They might be controversial. They might not be controversial. I think controversial sells. So, you know, like even if 80% of people out there hate your book, that means that 20% that loves it is going to make you rich. You know what I mean? And I'm going to leave it at about that because I do want to get some stuff done today, for sure, as always. I always try to get at least 3 things done a day. Doesn't matter how minute they are or whatever. You just got to get things done. Anyway, there we go.